For 5 centuries, this was the beating heart of human knowledge. A city where the works of Plato and Aristotle were preserved, debated, and advanced while Europe slept through its dark ages. Its libraries held over 1 million books. Its hospitals performed surgeries unknown elsewhere. Its astronomers calculated the Earth's circumference. Baghdad was more than a city. It was the memory of the ancient world and the engine of the medieval one. But in the winter of 1258, an army arrived at its gates that did not care for poetry, philosophy, or science. They had a single terrifying mandate from their leader: erase it. This is the story of the siege of Baghdad, the catastrophe that didn't just destroy a city, but severed the intellectual spine of civilization, casting a shadow we are only now emerging from. To understand the magnitude of the loss, you must see the Abbasid Caliphate at its peak. Founded in 762 AD, Baghdad was engineered as the Round City, a testament to rational planning. For 500 years, it was the world's largest city, a cosmopolis of Muslims, Christians, Jews, and Zoroastrians. The true source of its power wasn't just the Silk Road gold flowing into its markets, it was the House of Wisdom, a library, translation bureau, and research academy, unlike anything in history. Here, scholars paid in gold-translated Greek, Persian, Indian, and Syriac texts into Arabic. Algebra, algorithms, chemistry, astronomy. All these fields were either invented or radically advanced within these walls. The Caliph's court wasn't just a political center, it was the world's university. But this golden age was built on fragile pillars. And the Caliph's political power had been leeching away for centuries to rival sultanates. The army was a shell, reliant on foreign mercenaries. The city's immense wealth had bred complacency. And to the east, a storm was gathering that valued none of it. The agent of the apocalypse was Hulagu Khan, grandson of Genghis. Sent by his brother, the great Khan Munka, his mission was to subdue the Islamic world. But Hulagu wasn't just a savage horseman, he commanded the most advanced military-industrial complex of the 13th century. His army included Chinese siege engineers who could build and operate catapults and trebuchets of staggering power. His soldiers wore silk undershirts beneath their armor, a macabre innovation that allowed arrowheads to be pulled from wounds more cleanly. And they moved with a logistical precision that stunned their enemies. When Hulagu demanded the submission of Caliph al-Mustasim, the reply was arrogant, relying on the myth that God would never let Baghdad fall. It was a fatal miscalculation. The Mongols respected strength and total submission. Hesitation was seen as weakness. In January 1258, Hulagu's forces surrounded Baghdad. The Caliph's feeble cavalry charges were annihilated. The Mongols set up their cataracts, massive projectile engines, in a relentless circle. For nearly 2 weeks, a rain of stones, naphtha Greek fire, and explosive projectiles pounded the walls and the city within. The dikes were cut, flooding the Abbasid camp and trapping the army. On February 10th, the walls were breached. What followed was not a battle, but a meticulously orchestrated massacre. Citizens were driven from their homes and slaughtered by the tens of thousands. Chronicles report 800,000 dead. Modern estimates suggest 200,000 at minimum. But the true horror was cultural. The Grand Library, the House of Wisdom, was destroyed. Books were torn apart, their leather bindings used for sandals, their pages thrown into the Tigris River. So many manuscripts were dumped that the river ran black with ink and was said to be crossed on a bridge of books. The Caliph was captured, forced to watch his city die, and then executed, rolled in a carpet and trampled by horses, as Mongols believed it was wrong to spill royal blood on earth. The immediate aftermath was a smoldering ruin and a shattered psyche. The political heart of the Islamic world stopped beating. The intricate irrigation systems that fed Mesopotamia, the legacy of ancient Babylon, were shattered, turning fertile land into desert. But the true loss was intangible. The continuous, collaborative project of science that had thrived under the Abbasids was shattered. The transfer of knowledge to the West, which had been slowly happening through places like Sicily and Spain, was now a trickle of what it could have been. The event created a deep cultural trauma, a turn towards conservatism and insularity in the surviving Muslim world, born from the shock that God had allowed such a defeat. The Sack of Baghdad is the what-if event of history. The knowledge lost set back mathematics, medicine, and astronomy by centuries. When the Renaissance finally dawned in Europe, it was built on the fraction of classical knowledge that had been preserved and translated. Much of it, ironically, saved because copies existed in Baghdad and were later recovered from other cities. Had the House of Wisdom survived, the scientific revolution might have begun in the 1300s, not the 1600s. Our modern world of technology and global connection is built on a foundation that was almost obliterated. The event stands as a permanent warning. Civilization is not a given. It is a fragile collective project of memory, and its greatest libraries can be burned in a week. The dust of 1258 settled, and the world moved on. But it was a poorer, darker, and more divided world. The Mongols themselves would eventually convert to Islam and found dynasties, but they could never rebuild what they had destroyed. And the story of Baghdad reminds us that progress is not linear. It can be stored in parchment and stone, and it can be erased by fire and sword. The quest to rebuild that global house of wisdom, to reconnect human knowledge, defines our digital age more than we realize. If you were to rebuild a library of all human knowledge today, what would you put in it? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.